Hey everyone, welcome in. It is so genuinely great to have you sitting down with us today. Grab a coffee, get comfortable. I really think you're going to want to settle in for this one.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm really excited about where we're going today because, well, it's something I think literally everyone has bumped into at least once.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, usually when you see this sudden, massive explosion of sparks and bright lights just illuminating the night sky, you automatically assume it's fireworks, right?
Right, yeah. Like it's a celebration.
Exactly. It's a party. You just stand there looking up, totally mesmerized by the sheer scale of the whole spectacle.
And you don't even question it. You just enjoy the show.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
designed to demand your complete attention.
But, and here is the really terrifying catch, sometimes a massive explosion of sparks is not a firework display at
Oh,
all.
yeah. Sometimes it's a massive problem.
Right. Sometimes it's a catastrophic electrical short circuit happening right inside the walls of your own home. And, I mean, if you don't know how to tell the difference between a celebration and a short circuit,
Your house is literally going to burn down while you
yeah.
stand there admiring the pretty lights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us to today's deep dive. Because if you're listening to this, you have probably felt that overwhelming spark early in a relationship, that crazy chemistry,
The butterflies.
the butterflies. So today we are unpacking this fascinating stack of sources, exploring one of the most honestly confusing and potentially destructive experiences in modern dating. And that is the razor-thin, incredibly blurry line between true love and the psychological trap known as love bombing.
Yeah, and that line is notoriously difficult to spot because in the moment, the actual physiological experience of a genuine healthy connection and a manipulative short circuit, they feel nearly identical in your body.
Which is just so unfair if you ask me.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
But, I want to set a really clear mission for our time together today because we aren't here to just cynically label everyone who acts a little bit eager as some toxic villain.
Right, because human behavior is vastly more complicated than just good guys and bad guys.
Exactly. We're going to really look under the hood.
Yeah.
We're going to honestly examine the psychobiology behind rapid connection. Like what is actually happening in your brain, your nervous system, your attachment patterns.
So you can essentially draw a map for yourself.
A reliable map, yeah.
Yeah.
One that allows you to feel safe and actually enjoy getting to know someone without second-guessing every single compliment.
Okay, I love that. So let's just unpack this right from the start. To understand why love bombing works so effectively, we really have to start with the biology of that spark.
We do. It all starts in the body.
So you meet someone, and the chemistry is immediately just off the charts. They're texting you good morning right away. They want to see you every single day. They're telling you that you are literally the most brilliant person they have ever met in their entire life. What is actually happening inside our bodies when that hits us?
Well, to answer that, we first need to define the actual metric of love bombing, because it's essentially a massive overdose of attention, affection, and rapid future planning, all deployed in a very, very short period of time.
Like an overdose.
Yeah. And the critical variable you have to monitor isn't necessarily the volume of the nice words being said. It is the pace.
The pace. Okay, wait, explain that.
It is speed without depth, intensity without consistency.
Speed without depth. Man, that phrasing really highlights the mismatch. It actually makes me think of, like, dietary sugar.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right. Imagine sitting down for dinner and instead of a meal, you just eat an entire 3-tier wedding cake.
Just cake.
Just cake. No vegetables, no complex carbohydrates, no protein whatsoever. Just pure, unadulterated frosting and cake.
Sounds amazing for about 3 minutes.
Exactly. Your brain takes one bite of that and goes, yes, calories, sugar.
Right.
We love this. Keep it coming. Your conscious mind is absolutely thrilled.
Like your body is panicking.
Right. Your digestive system knows almost immediately that this is a terrible, highly unsustainable idea, and you are going to crash so hard.
And that disconnect between the immediate reward and the systemic overload, that is the core biological hijack of love bombing.
A biological hijack.
Yeah, our sources point out this really crucial scientific insight here. We are socially conditioned, right, to interpret fast praise and big promises as a signal of our own value.
Sure. Consciously, your brain says, oh, I am valued. I'm safe with this person. Look how much they like me.
Which totally makes sense when you consider our fundamental human need for connection. I mean, why else would they be saying all these amazing things if they didn't truly see us, right?
Right. But underneath that conscious thought,
Underneath, your autonomic nervous system is telling a completely different story. When you are hit with that wedding cake of attention, your brain is indeed flooded with dopamine.
the reward chemical, the stuff that makes you feel euphoric.
Exactly. However, because of the extreme pace of it all, your brain is simultaneously flooded with adrenaline and cortisol.
Wait, really? Cortisol, the
That's
stress hormone, even when the attention is like incredibly positive and flattering?
Yes, because your nervous system, specifically the sympathetic nervous system, which acts as your body's alarm bell, it registers this super rapid packaging of intimacy, not as safety, but as urgency.
Oh,
And
wow.
urgency is inherently a stress response. It triggers a mild fight-or-flight state.
So that's why you feel so keyed up.
Exactly. You might lose your appetite, you can't sleep, you are constantly checking your phone, your heart rate is elevated.
And culturally, we interpret that high arousal state as passion or butterflies.
We do. But biologically, your body is in an alarmed state of high alert because it inherently knows the pace is unnatural.
That is wild. So what does this actually look like in daily life? Because, no one walks up to you on a Tuesday night coffee date and says, "Hi, I'm going to flood your sympathetic nervous system with cortisol right now."
I mean, that would be a lot easier if they did.
It really would.
Yeah.
But it usually looks like, what, going on 2 dates, having a couple of really great deep conversations, and then suddenly they're suggesting you move in together.
Yeah, or making these wildly exaggerated, sweeping declarations about how you're their ultimate soulmate before they even know, like how you take your coffee.
It's the grand gesture that just hasn't been earned by the actual friction of time spent together.
Exactly. Unearned intimacy.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, though, and I want to push back on the cultural narrative for just a second,
Go for it.
is everyone who moves too fast, secretly, some calculating, evil narcissist plotting your emotional demise. Because, sometimes people just get genuinely excited, or they fall hard and fast, right?
That is such a vital distinction, and I'm glad you brought it up. The source material is actually very careful to separate intentional manipulation from mere emotional dysregulation.
Because they aren't the same thing.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes you are indeed dealing with a narcissistic strategy. Narcissistic love bombing follows a very specific, almost mechanical playbook.
Right. They use idealization, that intense affection we talked about, to essentially disarm your boundaries.
Exactly, to make you feel uniquely special.
Mm.
But it's a setup. Once you are emotionally hooked, once your guard is down, they abruptly switch to devaluation.
The dreaded devaluation phase.
Yeah, they withdraw the affection, they start criticizing you, and they create immense confusion.
And that sudden withdrawal just leaves you desperate to get the good version of them back.
Which creates what psychologists call a trauma bond, maintained through intermittent reinforcement.
Okay, intermittent reinforcement. Break that down for us.
Think of a slot machine in a casino. If a slot machine paid out every single time you pulled the lever, you'd eventually just get bored. And if it never paid out, you'd walk away. But because it pays out unpredictably, you stay glued to the stool, pulling the lever over and over, just hoping for the jackpot.
Wow. So the narcissist uses the memory of the love bombing phase as that jackpot.
Precisely. To keep you pulling the lever during the devaluation phase, it is highly toxic and deeply, deeply intentional.
But the sources suggest that's actually the rarer scenario, isn't it?
Much rarer. Honestly, far more commonly, the person love bombing you is just a deeply insecure, anxiously attached individual.
They aren't sitting there rubbing their hands together trying to destroy you.
No, not at all. They are just trying to rapidly build closeness to regulate their own panicked nervous system.
Right.
Imagine someone who feels like they are drowning in the middle of the ocean due to their own massive fear of abandonment. They don't really care who is on the boat passing by. They just see you and grab onto you like a life preserver as hard as they can, hoping that securing you will make them feel safe.
Oh, that's such a sad but clear image. They aren't seeing you as a complex human being. They're seeing you as a rescue device.
Exactly. But here's the really vital takeaway for anyone listening. While the intentions differ wildly, one is predatory, the other is just panicked, the outcome for your emotional health is exactly the same.
Because both are fundamentally unhealthy.
Both are built on urgency rather than actual connection, and both invariably will crash.
Okay, so if the biological rush feels identical to genuine early chemistry and the words sound exactly like a romantic comedy script, how do we catch the illusion early?
Well, there has to be a tell. You can't fake a deep, genuine connection flawlessly for very long.
Right, there is a massive tell in how they handle the future versus the present. It's that contrast between grand promises and tiny details.
Yes. The sources highlight this as the first major red flag.
Oh, this one is fascinating because of how totally absurd it plays out in reality. This is when someone is passionately outlining like a 2-week romantic vacation to Europe with you.
Oh, yeah, talking about how their parents are going to absolutely adore you.
Yes. But then you realize they literally misremembered your last name.
Exactly. Or they confidently book this grand romantic dinner at an expensive seafood restaurant when you've mentioned like 3 separate times that you are deathly allergic to shellfish.
Right. I mean, they are painting this giant, beautiful mural of a shared future, but they haven't bothered to learn your favorite color.
Because they are in love with the grand narrative of the relationship. The narrative serves their needs.
But genuine love requires a profound curiosity about the micro details of who you actually are. Love bombing just ignores the details to rush straight to the finish line.
Which naturally brings us to the illusion of connection itself. Because, if you point out that they forgot your shellfish allergy, a healthy person apologizes, feels terrible, and adjusts.
Right. But in a love bombing dynamic, the communication is incredibly shallow.
That is the second red flag right there. High volume, low vulnerability communication. You might get 50 texts a day.
Good morning, beautiful.
Thinking of you.
You're amazing.
Yeah, the volume is staggering. But try to pivot that constant stream of text into a deep conversation about a personal vulnerability, or try to navigate a nuanced disagreement.
The conversation immediately stalls. It deflects.
Because the communication isn't actually designed to explore your inner world. It is a superficial ritual designed entirely to maintain a tether.
It's like playing ping pong.
Exactly. You are just hitting the ball back and forth to keep the rhythm going, to prove that the other person is still there on the other side of the table. But you aren't actually changing the play or deepening the game.
And nobody can play that intense game of ping pong forever. It is biologically and physically impossible to maintain that extreme tempo. Eventually, life just happens.
You get a flat tire, you have a brutal week at work, or you simply settle into a more sustainable, normal human rhythm.
And when that inevitable drop in pace occurs, you witness the third and most revealing red flag.
Panic.
Absolute panic. Because when the tempo drops even slightly, a healthy partner adjusts to the new rhythm because they trust the foundation, right?
Right. But a love bomber panics. Their anxiety spikes massively because their entire sense of security was completely reliant on the chemical overflow of that extreme tempo.
They immediately think the sky is falling, like, why aren't you texting me back? Did I do something wrong? Are you pulling away from me?
And that panic is the definitive proof that the bond was just a chemical rush, not actual trust. It perfectly illustrates a core psychological truth. Chemistry does not equal compatibility.
Man, chemistry does not equal compatibility. Learning to spot that difference between a superficial chemical rush and genuine pacing compatibility is exactly why we do these deep dives. We really want to give you these mental frameworks so you can navigate the world with a bit more clarity.
Absolutely.
So hey, if you're finding this map helpful so far, take a quick second, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It genuinely helps us continue building this community of curious minds, and honestly, we just love having you with us as we unpack all these wild human behaviors.
It really is a crucial toolkit to have.
Yeah.
Because, even when we logically understand these red flags, we have to address a very uncomfortable truth here.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get into that. What does this all mean for us, like the people who fall for it? Because if we cognitively know that chemistry doesn't equal compatibility.
And we can clearly see the absurdity of a guy planning a wedding but forgetting our dog's name.
Right. Why do smart, capable, highly self-aware people still get swept away by this stuff?
Well, we don't fall for love bombing because we lack intelligence. We fall for it because we possess vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
The sources point out that periods of low self-esteem, recent heartbreak, or having an anxious attachment style, they make us incredibly susceptible. But what's really fascinating here is a concept the author calls the illusion of compatibility.
Okay, this was a huge aha moment for me when I read it. The idea that in the middle of this emotional storm, we really think we are falling deeply in love with the person sitting in front of us. But in reality, we are just starving for validation.
Exactly. We are falling in love with the attention, and we project compatibility onto the person providing it.
It's like when you are dying of thirst in the desert, any shimmering light looks like an oasis.
That's a perfect way to put it. If you have spent months or years feeling unseen, undervalued, or lonely, and suddenly someone walks in and essentially hands you a megaphone that broadcasts, you are flawless and I adore you.
It is entirely intoxicating.
They become addicted to how they make you feel about yourself, which completely blinds you to who they actually are as a person.
And for a lot of people, this chaotic dynamic doesn't just feel good, it feels weirdly familiar.
It does. If we connect this to the bigger picture of developmental psychology, Our childhood templates play a massive role here.
Right, let's say you grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent or chaotic.
Maybe your caregivers only showed deep affection when they were making up for a massive argument, or their attention oscillated wildly between extreme highs and sudden cold withdrawals.
So your developing brain basically learns to equate anxiety with love.
Yes. Your nervous system is literally conditioned to believe that love must be earned through chaos. So when a love bomber comes along and delivers massive dopamine spikes, followed by the adrenaline crash of, wait, where did they go when the pace dropped?
It feels normal to your body.
It feels weirdly comforting because it completely matches the unpredictable template you were given as a kid. A stable, safe, slowly developing relationship might actually feel boring to your dysregulated nervous system.
Because there's no cortisol spike to make you feel like it's real passion.
Exactly.
But chasing that feeling, chasing the cortisol and dopamine roller coaster, is fundamentally unsustainable. You cannot build a solid house in a single day, no matter how many fireworks you set off in the living room.
No, you can't. True intimacy requires time, consistent effort, and crucially, passing difficult tests together. You literally do not know if you have a strong connection until you've successfully navigated a conflict.
Which brings us to the most important part of our discussion today. Because now that we understand the trap and we understand the biological and psychological vulnerabilities that literally wire us to fall into it.
We need a practical, everyday protocol to actually protect ourselves.
Yes, we need to step out of the fantasy. That is step one. Stop daydreaming. And look, we are all guilty of this. We meet someone charming, they say all the right things, and immediately we are casting them in the movie of our future life.
Oh, totally. We stop looking at the flawed, complex human being sitting across the table, and we start interacting with the potential of who they could be.
So, to pull yourself out of that projection, the source material offers this brilliant, highly effective cognitive tool, the 3 concrete examples rule.
I absolutely love this rule because it operates like an internal fact checker for your brain.
Right. When you catch yourself making a broad, sweeping, positive statement about this new person, for instance, if you tell your best friend, they're just so incredibly thoughtful and reliable.
You have to stop and challenge yourself. Can you list 3 concrete, undeniable examples from their actual behavior to prove that statement?
And we must be strict about what constitutes an example here. Like, they promised to help me move next month. That is a statement of intent, not an action.
Right. But they brought me soup when I mentioned I had a cold. That is an action.
They remembered I had a big presentation and texted me good luck right before it started. Action.
They respected my boundary when I said I couldn't hang out this weekend. Action.
If you can't find 3 concrete examples rooted in historical reality, you aren't seeing them. You are interacting with an illusion.
It forces your logical brain right back online. But what happens if your cognitive brain knows it's moving too fast, but your body is still completely betraying you?
Right, your heart is racing, you feel that insane magnetic pull, and your thumbs are just itching to text them back instantly.
That is where you have to physically intervene.
Mm.
You cannot make sound relational decisions when your sympathetic nervous system is screaming that this is an urgent life or death romantic emergency.
So this is where somatic regulation becomes your best defense.
You have to engage your parasympathetic nervous system. Think of the sympathetic nervous system as your body's gas pedal and the parasympathetic system as the brake pedal. It's the rest and digest state.
So when you feel that frantic, fluttery anxiety after they shower you with praise or demand all your time,
Take a physical step back. Put the phone in another room. Take 10 slow, deep breaths, deliberately making your exhales longer than your inhales.
you are literally forcing your biology to calm down so your logic can actually catch up.
Exactly. You might not be able to control the psychological baggage of the person pursuing you, but you possess absolute control over your own boundaries and physical pacing. You can simply say, hey, I'm having a wonderful time getting to know you, but I need to take things a bit slower.
And remember the 3rd red flag we talked about. If they panic or guilt trip you for setting that boundary, well, you just received all the data you need.
Which leads us perfectly into the ultimate formula provided in the text for your very next romantic encounter. It's 3 simple sequential steps. Slow down, verify, compare.
Slow down, verify, compare. I love that. Deliberately slow the pace to give yourself breathing room.
Verify their grandiose words with their small, consistent actions over time.
And finally, compare. Compare the speed of the relationship with the actual depth of knowledge you have about each other. Compare their promises with their follow-through. And most importantly,
Compare your overwhelming feelings with strict, objective logic.
If your logic and your feelings are aligned, you are building a spectacular, healthy foundation. But if one is stumbling, like if your feelings are sky high, but your logical brain says, wait, I actually know nothing about this person's character.
You're just sitting in the audience watching a performance.
Man, this framework takes the power completely out of the hands of the love bomber and puts it right back into your own pocket. You aren't a passive victim of their chemistry experiment anymore. You are an active, discerning evaluator. So to wrap this all up, and I really think this is the core takeaway from everything we've explored today, setting a boundary, slowing things down, and demanding consistency is not a lack of romance.
Not at all.
It is the absolute prerequisite for sustainable love. Without boundaries, you don't have a relationship, you have an emotional hostage situation.
And when you build robust self-worth, and when you learn to regulate your own nervous system so you aren't desperate for a partner to do it for you, these extreme love bombing profiles simply bounce right off.
You are no longer an energetic match for their urgency.
There is a truly profound sentiment at the end of the source material that captures this entire journey perfectly. It says, "The day you stop waiting for a savior is the day you are already saved."
The day you stop waiting for savior is the day you are already saved. That is powerful. If you aren't desperately scanning the horizon to be rescued, you can't be kidnapped by a fantasy. Well, before we head out, just one last cheerful reminder for all. If you found value in this deep dive, please do subscribe and turn on notifications. It's the best way to make sure you never miss an exploration like this, and it really helps us keep bringing you these deep dives.
But before you go, I do want to leave you with one final, somewhat provocative question to mull over. Something that connects the psychology we've discussed to the technological world we are currently living in.
Oh, I'm always ready for a final thought experiment. What's the question?
Well, we've spent this whole time dissecting the toxic mechanisms of love bombing, right? The extreme highs, the intermittent reinforcement, the shallow communication, the instant validation. But look closely at the design of modern dating apps.
Okay.
They are algorithmically engineered to hijack those exact same dopamine pathways. Swiping, the instant gratification of a match, the unpredictable notifications, it provides immediate superficial validation without requiring an ounce of actual vulnerability or depth.
Oh, wow. So the medium itself is literally mimicking the manipulation.
Yeah. So this raises an important question. Are we culturally conditioning an entire generation to fundamentally reject slow, healthy, step-by-step love? Because our brains are being systematically trained by our phones to feel that consistency and pacing are simply too boring compared to the toxic algorithm-driven spark.
Wow. Are we mistaking the short circuit for the fireworks on a global scale? That is something to seriously think about the next time you open an app. Or honestly, the next time you see those sparks flying in real life, make sure you check the wiring.
Always check the wiring.
Thanks for diving up with us today, everyone. We'll see you next time.